Hey everyone, what's up? What's going on? And welcome back. Can't Drop here, bringing you all something I honestly really wish I had when I was starting Survival Hunter for PvE content. Meaning, it's time to go over our top 5 tips to remember in PvE for M+ and raids. So, this is not going to be a complete list of tips and tricks. This is meant for overall use in PvE to help you stay up and at 'em in dungeons and raids. Mainly because you die, you can't deal damage. So while still learning, and this might not even help those of us who have been playing Survival Hunter for a while, I just wanted to put this out there to help anybody that might have had questions on certain things, or if anybody is beginning to play Survival Hunter, what they should be thinking about, or kind of stuff like that. It's basically just what I try to remember during each encounter. But before we get into the full content and context of the video, I just want to let you all know that I am doing a giveaway. I will leave a link down below for the video that has all the information you will need. Just go click the link in the description below of this video. Watch the video. It will give you all the information you need to enter the giveaway. And I'll message you back in a reply to your comment, letting you know that you're in. So without further ado, let's get right on into the top 5 tips to remember while learning to play survival in PvE. Tip 1. We're going to work our way up the ladder starting with your pet. So a lot of people, especially me, when I first thought of playing Survival Hunter, my pet is just my focus generator. I use my kill command and my coordinated assault, and that's all my pet is used for. But that's not true. Your pet gives you a lot of utility. So let's take, for instance, the Torghast this week, right? In the Soul Forge, whatever it is, the lower area of Torghast. Basically, when you go to layer 8, on floor 1, you get 6% of your maximum health dealt to you in fire damage every 5 seconds, okay? So once you get to floor 6 of layer 8, you take 10% of your total health every 5 seconds. So let's say, for instance, a pet that you should not be using in that circumstance would be an endurance pet. Why? Well, why not? It would give you an extra 5% HP. Yes, but that will also give you an increase to your maximum percentage of health, which means that dot or that periodic every 5 seconds will actually hit you harder while fighting mobs. So in my way I went and did about this is I just went and used a leech pet that had a defensive ability to take reduced damage or an increased dodge chance. I personally like the scale hides for it, but that's the kind of circumstances I'm talking about for like your solo play. For group play, like in a dungeon or something like this, you really have to be like cautious of what mobs you're really fighting. If the mobs that you're fighting in the dungeon are healing a lot, if they're healing a lot, then, why don't you bring out a pet that reduces their healing, basically gives a mortal wounds effect. I mean, you can hit 2 targets and keep it up on 2 targets at a time because the cooldown is 6 seconds and the duration is 8 seconds. So all you have to do is macro it into, say your Serpent Sting or your Raptor Strike or your Kill Command. That way, when you tab through, your pet is also using the abilities like Claw, Smack, and stuff like that. So you're getting the most out of your pet. It is extremely beneficial to use it to your advantage. Also, in group play, you can use another pet that reduces movement speed to mobs. Like, say, for instance, in, Halls, I believe it? Yeah, Halls of Atonement. When the Beast Lords do, like, Bestial Call or something like that, and it enrages the Gargon Bears, or the Gorgon Bears, they do immense amounts of damage, but they can be slowed and they can be CC'd. They can also have their enrage dispelled, so being able to help your tank kite one less enraged bear is extremely easy. All you gotta do is swap pet. So that's definitely for tip number 1. Tip number 2. Tip 2. How to learn beginner AoE for survival. Alright, so survival is really one of those classes that's not really talked about in PvE much, so I figured I would bring up a lot about their AoE caps. And you need to be thinking about this at all times, along with how one of your AoE effects affects another. Basically meaning I'm going to go over your AoE abilities that you can talent into and you have standard. The talented ones you can talent into is Hydra's Bite for multiple hits on Serpent Sting and Butchery. Those are your talented in AoEs. Now, you normally have Wildfire Bomb, but you can get a second charge to it, along with Carve being baseline. With that being said, I want to point out that your Carve is a 5 target hit cap. Your Serpent Sting for Hydra's Bite talent is a 3 target hit cap, and sometimes it only hits 1. And your Butchery is a 5 target hit cap. Now, here's where it gets extremely fun with the AoE for survival. Your bomb has 0 hit cap, except maximum for like 20 people. So I would estimate a range of like 15 to 20 mobs is when your Wildfire Bomb will probably lose its lackluster on AoE. So no matter how many mobs your tank pulls, you can always hit every single one of them with a Wildfire Bomb if they're in the same area. So keep that in mind. You know, rule of thumb is really pay attention to your bombs while using your Carve as often as possible to reduce the cooldown. Because up to 5 targets hit with Carve equals 5 seconds taken off of your Wild Bomb cooldown. Tip 3, how to properly use your Harpoon in dungeons and raids. Okay, so the biggest thing about a survival hunter is that they are an extremely mobile melee class that is semi-hybrided to a ranged. Certain abilities are ranged, and you can use your Eagle to make your Raptor Strike ranged. With that being said, your Harpoon, in my opinion, is extremely important as a survival utility. Situations generally the same between, you know, raids and dungeons due to a lot of the bosses have knockback effects. You know, you need to CC enemies that are moving around that are able to be CC during boss fights. So a little example is like dungeon wise, I usually use my Harpoon to help the tank kite enraged mobs to root them for 4 seconds, or mechanics like on the other side in Ardenweald, for instance. The third boss drops traps on the ground that shoot you up into the air, and sometimes if you get the bomb, you have to launch yourself up, or the one person or everybody else in the group launches themselves up at the same time the person stays on the ground with the bomb. You can save yourself, meaning you can Harpoon from maximum height when the boss knocks you up, or backwards, and you can Harpoon back to the boss. So you don't lose any real like DPS loss like a lot of other melee classes would. You can zing right back to them. It's also extremely helpful in PvE like dungeons if you're trying to like do the best you can with low gear and you actually need to CC mobs. You can Harpoon root a mob while the others run away from it to your tank, and then you can just trap it. Or you can go for the long CC, you can Harpoon it, run away from it. It has a 4-second duration on the route, trap it, or intimidate it, and then trap it. You got a super long CC. Just remember that your Harpoon isn't just to help you get to a boss. It's also to help you remove fall damage and help you coordinate like a little more versatility in each fight that you might not expect, like getting smashed backwards or blown way up into the air. Or you have to root a mob that is, you know, running away. It could go aggro a whole nother group of enemies. Harpoon it. Yeah, you do have a minimal distance on your Harpoon, but if you run the opposite way, you could still Harpoon the mob before it gets to any other enemy groups. So it's extremely, extremely helpful in all scenarios, not only keeping DPS up and maintaining your damage and staying on the boss or on any target you have to be, but it's also extremely helpful to basically help your tank and your healer in that fact. Or a DPS if they're getting funneled down by like some type of CCable mob that is focus targeting your ally. It's so nice and helpful. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is alright, so it's self-explanatory, but tip number 5 is your traps. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, sometimes forget that they are there, actually. And on occasion, you know, I use one trap all the time and then I forget I have another. Just because you have so many cooldowns as a hunter, you kind of have to make sure that they're all in areas that you remember them being. And also being able to talent into Steel Trap as a survival hunter is another 3rd trap. Or a 4th trap if you go with the PvP talent Explosive Trap. So you have a lot of traps that you need to remember about, and a lot of them that, you know, you might not even remember are there sometimes. It does honestly happen, and it does honestly get very hard, especially in the heat of a moment, to remember that they're all there, that you have this utility to your hands and to your character. and to your ability to play around with. I get it. It is extremely hard sometimes to remember that you do have traps, because you also have misdirect. You also have to make sure that you got turtle, you got your cheetah, you got, it's crazy how many cooldowns the hunters actually have and how much you actually really have to look out for as a survival hunter. So with that being said, I just wanted to remind you guys that you do have traps. Just make sure they are there. And, best information and, advice I could probably give on your trap placement is either you can make a macro for mouse over, like you can just mouse over a target, hit it, and it'll throw it that way, or on self, or something like that. I'm pretty sure you can find a guide that'll help you make a macro fairly easily. If that's something you guys want me to do, be my guest. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will make sure I put up a macro guide with what I use and how I use them. But you do have traps. Just make sure that they are on keybinds and in an area that are coordinated to how you like your bars. That way you can remember that they are there. That's all. Just remember they're there and use them when you need to. They are only on a 25-second CD at level 60. So just use it when you can or when you need to. They're always there to save your ass. But with that being said, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you liked the video, please smash that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below if that macro video is something you guys want to see. If so, I'll work on it and I'll get it going for you guys. I'm sorry this content is all coming out so sporadically, but I've really been working on trying to get my Craven Stratagem legendary. I finally got all of my legendary effects besides Nesting Warrior's trapping apparatus because I haven't PvP'd much. I'm going to be making Rylax Stalkers this week as long as I can get a rank 2 or rank 3 pants that aren't going to cost me an arm and a leg and maybe have to give up a toe or two. Other than that, like I said before, I really hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Can't drop out.